you ask questions if you're not interested in the
I
answers?
didn't expect a fucking whole backstory. It's like talking to my wife. Jesus Christ.
When we talk about confidence, where does the lack of confidence begin?
It all started when I was about like 5 years old, and I took a shower with my dad. I felt something hit my shoulder. I was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh my god, that's a penis."
Confidence that can be like really shaken easily, I think, comes from discipline. Comes from the hours of dedicating yourself to something that you feel strong about.
The kind of semi-joke before, I was like, sometimes you gotta lie to yourself to get you to like where you need to be mentally. What do you guys feel about the whole phrase "fake it till you make it"?
I think it's bullshit.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Mindset You. I'm gonna try to pronounce today because apparently the AI can't understand what the fuck I'm saying half the time. It's kind of by design because fuck the robots, but also
Say pronounce again.
pronounce.
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, the first one you said pronounce.
Pronounce. I have a speech impediment. Leave me alone. Anyway, I'm Punchline Jay. We got Mr. Roboto over here, Rances. And over there, this beautiful man that I'm just looking at in the screen at. Hi, baby.
What's up?
What's going on? Moody Mo right there. Today's episode is all about confidence. But before we get into that, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have a deep hatred for myself. It started at a very young age. And my parents didn't tell me they loved me until I was about 5. And it started from... No, I'm just kidding, guys. I have confidence out the butt most of the time. Most of the time I'm making it up. Other times it just pours out of me. And it's helped me get through things, and it helps me deflect mostly everything. That's the honest truth. Yeah, that's what I got right now.
Quick question, Jay. How did that confidence do in the back offices of the newsroom?
It worked out well for the most part because you just had to get shit done. So it's just got to be confident.
You learned to deflect the shit out of everything.
Yeah. But that, it's like I do my work. It's not like... It's one of those, like, you know, I do my work and then they're like, you have to do this too. I go, okay.
Uh-huh.
And then I go, you have no time to go, I can't do this because it's going on air in the next 5 seconds.
Well, I mean, it's pretty interesting because you labeled him as a pessimist, and I don't really see him as a pessimist so much. There are parts of him.
Yeah, I think I'm more cynical than I'm a pessimist. I don't think I'm a Debbie Downer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
You are definitely more cynical.
Yeah, I'm more cynical and stuff like that, you know. Yeah, but I don't see myself as a pessimist. I just don't
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think that everybody's nice. Guys can't get over that apparently. Jesus Christ.
So now I agree with the cynical aspect, and I feel like there's a lot of that cynicalness that every conversation always shows up. It's like, nah, there can't be. Like you mentioned about in the gratitude one, where it was like, you know, you were like, this is stupid, whatever, and then it's working. You're still cynical about it, of like, stupid thing works. And so you do it, but there's still a cynical view towards it.
That's how I get through life. It's called a coping mechanism, okay? That's mine. You have your little fucking genie hair. I have cynicalism. Is that even a word, cynicalism?
Well, Rances is the opposite side of the spectrum, I think.
Yeah.
What's that?
Complete optimism. Everything.
Delusional optimism?
Yeah, delusional optimism.
Well, yeah, I think that's it's a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
You know, like dealing with you, it's a curse. You know, but for your life, it's great. Like, it's amazing. You know, when you just
am I that hard to deal with?
You're not hard to deal with, but when you're overly optimistic about something, like that's gonna be easy. And I was just looking at you like I fucking hate you right now. Fuck you. So that's why I think it's difficult, but it's not difficult in the sense of like, oh, like here's Rances coming in with this optimism again.
Well, I think, you know, part of that whole, you know, Mr. Roboto thing that you call me, I think comes from that. Like I look at things from a system standpoint. So I look at it and I see what's the overall outcome, what's the meaning I'm giving it. And at the end of the day, the conclusion I have is only optimism. Those are the highest chances of anything.
Okay. That's an answer.
I think I'm in the middle, man. I think I'm in the middle. I think I'm more. I see Jay's point a lot, and I'll look at the obstacle and challenges, and this is where I think the biggest difference is. I think that Rances loves to go into discomfort. He never sees it as a discomfort. Mm-hmm. Everything is like, oh, it's gonna be hard. Yes, fuck yeah. Like, I love it. So it's gonna be great. We're gonna be better after this. And then sometimes I'm like with Jay, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that hard shit. Like, this is stupid. Like, why does it have to be this hard? You know? And that's where I think I land in the middle.
Yeah. I also think with you, it depends on your mood. Because hence the nickname Moody Mo. It says like when you're in a good mood, I'm like, oh, like that's where I feel like you're very fair and balanced. But if you're in a shit mood, it's like, oh, there's nothing. He's on my side completely. Even I'm like, God damn, bro. Like,
yeah, it is like it's a gamble. Like which one we're gonna get. And when you're gray, you're like this gentle giant and so loving and smiling. When you're moody, when you're in a bad mood, it's just like, oh. Anything we do is gonna be annoying.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. You're the wild card of the group.
Well, I mean, a lot of the things you guys do are annoying. It's just whether I can tolerate it that day or not.
Like that's what, fair. Moses? What do we do that's annoying?
Well, I mean, what annoyed me today was the structure to the creativity of a podcast. This whole system that you built out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Says the guy who doesn't do any editing, so...
Yeah, you're right. I don't understand that. That's why I tolerated it today.
So you allowed
it. I like that he tolerated.
I allowed it today.
He tolerated the structure for us.
You know what? Another name could be Diva Mo.
It just ties into the moodiness, you know. It's just, you know.
Makes sense. I'm not going to argue.
So guys, as you know, this podcast is about empowerment. We want to give you the tools, give you the structure on how to create a thriving life. That's what we do. Moses and I were coaches. Jay, I
was coached by them.
He's the comedian who's always looking the other side of things.
It was, come edit this podcast. And it was, come be on this podcast. And it's, produce this podcast. And now it's back to editing and being on the podcast. It's great, guys. Optimism.
See, he says that, but he has a great time.
So much fun.
Mo has been an educator for 10 years and then educator plus coach for, 15 years?
I thought I was supposed to do my intro.
Oh, well, you weren't, so I figured.
He did the intro for both of us. Yeah. Rances is right. I was an educator and coach for a really long time.
And that's why I was saying, like, hey, what do you want to say? Because
nothing. How does it feel to have 2 extra kids?
You know, that's exactly what it feels like. And if I have that expectation, I'm like, I go with it. If I expect you guys
it's great
to be professional and like have intent behind things, then I'll be frustrated.
I have intent to make you uncomfortable. You love living in uncomfort. Here I am to help you out.
Well, I've been a coach for over 15 years, helping people in terms of mindset and being dyslexic. I had to figure out my own ways to do this. Now I use my own ways to help people figure out their ways.
Is it almost like being in a wheelchair?
So Jay's trying to call back to a previous episode where I explained
he
how
cursed himself.
Disabilities, whether you can see them or not, they're still disabilities. And he believes in magic, apparently, and thinks that that's the reason why I got into a few accidents and things in the time period between.
It's true. It's true. And he made me believe. I wasn't a believer before. And I was like, oh, shit, God's real. God's real. He has it out for Rances. But I subscribe to the Old Testament one, the Old Testament God, where he's a little bit more spiteful and he likes to gamble and stuff like that. That's the guy I like.
Oh, you know, you want to know what? I ran into a lot of people that were pissed off with Jay with the religion episode.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Fuck y'all.
What was the
Yeah, what were they upset about?
Like
how
it
dare I?
almost
How
seemed-
dare I? Don't believe.
No, it's almost like you dismissed the idea of religion. That's what.
Yeah, that's my own personal belief.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
argued that.
Yeah.
I said there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not gonna go. Oh, you're. Oh, I don't run by your church and go. Ha ha! You fucking idiots. Like, I go. May the Lord be with you, and I keep on. I go about my day.
No, I mean I agree with you. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's just a personal belief. But again, I believe that religious people are just so into it that
Yeah.
it's hard to see anything else.
I'm sorry I had the confidence to believe in myself and not have to go to your fake. No, I'm kidding.
Speaking of
I'm
which,
gonna cut that out.
today's episode is about confidence, and we're gonna explore the topic like we do with all the different topics in terms of how to make your life thrive. Confidence is a big aspect of that. So we're gonna talk about how Mo and I work with people to help understand them and their confidence and build that up. And Jay is going to challenge us on it.
Sure.
When we talk about confidence, where does the lack of confidence begin from?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I know. Kobe.
I'll take you back to 1993. Taking a shower on Broad Ave with my dad.
On Broad Ave.
Yeah, Broad Ave. That's right. I lived in Broad Ave.
Oh,
Makes it sound like you're in the middle of
yeah.
Broad
it
Ave.
sound
Okay,
like
so
you're in
yeah,
the
we were in the middle of a little shanty town on Broad Avenue, taking a shower in the backyard, and I felt something hit my shoulder. I was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh my god, that's a penis." And I never seen a man penis before, and I literally like looked at it and then looked down and then looked at it and I was like, "Whoa, there's a glaring difference."
Wait, that was the first time you had seen your dad naked?
I think that was the first time I put the two and two together.
Oh, so this is a real story.
Oh, this is a real story.
Oh,
This
okay,
is.
yeah.
I wasn't. It's funny, but it's true. I think it was like the first time I put two and two together, and then like it happened again when I was like maybe like 10 or 11, hanging out over the summer at my cousin Felix's house. And my cousin Felix is always this oversized man. Like ever since he was a child, he just looked like a grown man. And one day he was just like, "Does it look like this yet?" And he pulled his pants down, and it just like came out like an elephant trunk. And I was just like, "What the fuck is that?" And the image just been burned into my head.
Did that really question your confidence?
It really questioned my confidence. 'Cause I was like, okay, I'm the shortest kid in the family, pretty much, right? Everybody's a fucking monster. Like, if my dad's not tall, but he's a fucking big guy and stuff like that. And I was always like 4'11" kind of thing, soaking wet, like 90 pounds, maybe on a good day. And then I was like, why is everybody a fucking man? Like, am I ever gonna become a man? Like, it's not looking well right now. Puberty hit, it got better, but yeah, in the beginning, I was like, holy shit, this is what a man is? I'm far away from this. It's a long road. If it's Candyland, I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm at the start. Like, this is wild. So yeah, that's where my confidence, that's where my lack of confidence came from as a kid. Penis.
All right, Rances, you got any penis stories?
I don't got any penis stories because that's why I asked that question, because in my house, like, being naked was pretty normal. We just walked around, so it wasn't like.
But being naked was normal. But it was like when I just finally put the two and two together, I was like, oh wait, why does it look like that? Kind of thing. Like, but probably, oh yeah, just walk around.
No, for me, I feel like I had a lot of challenges with confidence when it came to my similar. Like, I'm the smallest, I'm the youngest of my siblings, and it was always like my older brother was always messing with me, always beating me up, always tossing me around, cracking on me. So for me, it was always like that. Like I'm not physically capable. I'm not, verbally capable. And like for me at home, that would be always a struggle. So I would always, I was kind of the youngest one, so I was kind of a mama's boy in that sense, like always going to my mom for savior, which just got me beat up even more by my brother.
Sounds about right.
But yeah, to me, that's a time in my life where confidence was definitely a challenge.
No, I think confidence is always a challenge. I think probably now is probably where I feel the most confident about the things that I do. But I would say where it started, was trying to always be accomplished in the eyes of my father, right? Just trying to prove myself on the basketball court and make sure that I did well and that I didn't get him upset. And that was really kind of where it all started. And then as my parents divorced and I went through life as a young man, that's when it got, went down a little bit more of a rabbit hole with the confidence issue. And then that kind of started to change in my late 20s.
Yeah. I agree with that. The idea of like, it's not one moment in time, because like for me, that transferred to school, right? Where now confidence in terms of, again, being dyslexic, school was very challenging for me, and I wasn't able to maintain the grades or even captivate things in the classroom. And for specifically when I moved to Jersey, that was very tough because they made it very, like, in New York, I felt like no one really cared. It just passed you along. But in Jersey, it became a thing. Like, I had this evaluation, and they tell you, like, well, you're performing under this level, and we need you here, and so on and so forth. So we're going to put you out into this separate group. And that was kind of that ongoing of like, I'm still the runt of the litter. I'm still like barely keeping it together, staying able to stay in school. My brother, who seems like a retard, he seems to do okay.
That's not nice.
Appropriate.
Hey, take that out of your hard drive, okay?
Because he was always getting in trouble and stuff like that. But in school, he got in trouble all the time, but he still passed. Like, he still did good enough. And then I'm over here really trying. I have my mother would get me tutors all the time, and I'll be struggling with that. And still, like, school was always a challenge. So, yeah, I agree with that in terms of keeps going.
Well, the reason I asked that question was, where does the lack of confidence start from?
Mm-hmm.
I think understanding that helps you get a better idea of where it all is rooted and how to get, how to develop protocols or, methods to develop confidence as an adult.
Yeah, I think, well, all jokes aside, I think for me it was always like being like the Jake thing was funny. But realistically, I think it was more so like always being like the runt of the group kind of thing. And it was like, since I always hung out with my older cousins, I was like, I had to be funny. That was my way of like, defending. It was my way of defending, and it was my way of being accepted by them. Because if I was funny, it's like, oh, let's take him with us because this little kid is hilarious and he's going to say something funny to the grown-ups kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's when I was like, oh, if I'm funny, if I make grown-up jokes and stuff like that, like, I'll get to hang out with the adults and they'll let me hang out, and I'll get to hang out with the little kids kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's where like it really started, where I was like, oh, okay, like.
Where you found validation.
Yeah, when I was like, oh, if I'm funny, like if I got my dad's laugh, I was like, fuck, I did good kind of thing. So yeah, that's where like where the confidence like really started from. And that's like, if I'm in a room and I can't make somebody laugh, I'm like, God damn, what am I going to do in this bitch? Like, this is going to suck. This is going to be the longest day ever.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's how you identify yourself now. So like what you're actually confident in is basically can start off as a coping mechanism, a defense mechanism, a defense mechanism where you wanted to be accepted by your cousins and in that tribe, so you decided to be funny, and now you want to be accepted by the audience that we have here. Mm-hmm. So You're gonna be funny. And sometimes that means being cynical.
Yeah.
And talking about penises all the time. But
Pissing
yeah.
off. I like that the religious folks don't care that I talk about dicks and stuff like that. But they're like, how dare you talk about religion?
So now let's change gears. Like Jade mentioned a little bit about like how that transitioned into adulthood. But for you, Mo, how did that have an impact in terms of adulthood? And then how'd you turn it into confidence? If you did.
I mean, I think a lot of the work was, one, going to therapy, understanding a lot of these like base childhood stories, and how I perceived things, because I think that's very important, how I perceived myself. The other thing is trying new shit. Like, the only way you gain confidence is by actually doing something. I was actually talking to my little sister yesterday, Lucy, and she called me, and, you know, she's going through stuff, and she just turned 21. And she was like, I feel like I have no self-esteem. And I'm like, I'm going to be real with you. Self-esteem is bullshit. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. The way that you change that is by doing things and gathering stories and new evidence in your brain, in your world, that makes you feel like you're capable of doing something else. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the most important thing. Is like, everybody will talk about, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. And the reality is like, it's only going to be a wish until you fucking start it. So I think when it changed for me is when I decided to leave teaching. I think that was like the biggest thing. One, it was like a message, or kind of like the pivotal moment in my life as like, oh, I'm becoming a man. Because I worked in the same building with my father. You know, my career was kind of guided and tracked by my parents and my father. I went to school because my parents told me to go to school. And then by me quitting and giving up $80,000 in health benefits and all that shit, it was like, all right, yeah, I left the nest. Like, so now I'm on my own. Mm-hmm. And then that whole series of 7 years till now is probably like all of the stories and evidence that I stacked up to be like, yeah, I'm capable of doing whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, I saw, I mean, I've known you since you were kids, and to see you now compared to like where you were before, like we had this conversation when you know, when the building, when the actual VidaProject building shut down and stuff like that, you put that emotional ass video out and you made me cry. I was just like, I'm so proud. And because it's true, like I've seen you grow, and to see, you know, the amount of confidence that you have now makes me so fucking happy. Because that's a lot. When I felt as a kid, like that was the thing that was always holding you back. I was like, you have the world by the balls if you wanted to, but you don't believe in yourself, and that was the issue, kind of thing, you know. And to now see you that you believe in yourself, now it's like, this motherfucker's annoying. God, how big can this fucking head be? I'm kidding, but it's so nice to fucking see.
But I also want to point out that sometimes I have to be that way. Because that's the only way that I get through it. Yeah. Because if I'm not that way, like egotistical. Yeah. Like I have to, and I think fighters do it a lot. I'm sure. Yeah. Fighters do it a lot. Like, I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm gonna, you know, whatever. I'm gonna kill you in the ring. I think about life that way. Like, if I'm not lying to myself in that moment, then I'm not gonna try to take the action. And if I don't take the action, then I'm never gonna build the evidence to build my confidence. So it's like, you know what? I am the shit. Like, fuck it. And then if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, and then I do it again.
Well, no, I was going to say about, like, that transition from, like, that point of my life to adulthood, and that confidence level, and not even adulthood, because for me, it happened earlier on, which was with my brother. I mentioned this in the last podcast once I started understanding how to mess with him and get under his skin, like that felt like that was a huge confidence boost for me. Like, oh, you're not, you know, this monster that I can't, you know, break down. So that was huge. And then with school, though, it was when it was in Powell Park, actually, when I started building relationships with the teachers. Like, I would be talking to the teachers and talking about their problems and stuff like that. I was like, oh, Like all of this stuff is so simple to me, like relationships and stuff like that. And they're having marriage problems. And I'm literally talking to this teacher about this stuff. And they're like, I don't know why I'm telling you this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it happens a lot. And that's when like my confidence stepped in, because like, oh, I'm not like this structured stuff of school I don't understand. But this other stuff that these people don't understand is so easy for me. So that's when I started kind of relating to like, oh, the things that I'm good at, I have an understanding that's beyond. So that added to my confidence. And then switching that over to, I started using that in the classroom to get better in the classroom. It was like, oh, I'm a learner. I can adapt. That's what I have. So for me, the confidence came in, cause like different from what Mo said about like, you know, putting it out there. I always stayed in the gray of like, oh, I don't know it. And that's cool, because I'm a learner. I'm going to learn the path. I'm going to learn the thing. I'm going to figure out the solution. And that's where my confidence like derives from now. Like the idea of the journey, that I'm going to be able to learn and experience from the journey. Go ahead, Jay. I know you have like 15 jokes there.
No, I don't. It's just intrusive thoughts that come in. I just want to giggle because you were talking about journey, and I was like, when's the story gonna end?
Children.
I'm sorry.
Rances,
I'm sorry. You were getting deep, and I deflected because I have issues. Since this is all about confidence, right? And I made the kind of semi joke before. I was like, sometimes you gotta lie to yourself to get you to like where you need to be mentally. What do you guys feel about the whole phrase "fake it till you make it"? Do you think that carries weight? Do you think that it's something that hurts you, or it depends on how you go about it, kind of thing?
I'll let Mo go first.
No, actually, stop. I want you to go first.
Oh,
Okay.
Under 3 minutes, please.
Set the timer. I don't believe in that phrase. I think that it creates more lack of confidence, because you're telling yourself that this thing that you're going after isn't true, isn't real. So you're faking it. You're telling yourself that you're fake. And that's where imposter syndrome comes from, where then it paralyzes you from moving forward, because you don't believe in yourself. You're literally doing things that you don't believe in. So I think it's a confidence killer.
Okay, but here's my counter to that. Are you taking the phrase "fake it till you make it" too literally? Because that's what it sounds like.
What do you mean?
Because you're saying like you know that you're fake kind of thing, but it's not a matter of so much saying like "fake it till you make it." It's kind of just like giving yourself that confidence that no matter, like, you know, I'll just use sparring, for example, right? It's like I got my ass whipped in sparring yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, but for the sake of this story, I got my ass whipped in sparring yesterday. Do I go, man, I fucking suck. Should I just fucking not do this anymore? Or do I go, oh, okay, I sucked yesterday, but I know I'm better than that. You know, isn't that a sense of faking it till you make it, because you have to reassure yourself?
I mean, that's not the interpretation that I get from the phrase. For me, you're talking about the middle ground, because it's not only like, oh, I suck. That's the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
To me, it's the middle ground. Is like, okay, let's see where I failed. It's again looking at it pragmatically. Let's see where I failed. What did I not see at all? What are my opportunities? And looking at it from that perspective, and then you can now work on specific things to improve yourself, and then you improve better. But there's no point there where you're like telling yourself, no, I'm great. That was just a fluke or whatever. To me, that's faking it till you're making.
I think I kind of agree with what Jay said. I think I don't necessarily believe that you meant it in the way, because I understand what you said too.
Yeah.
Rances. But what I can say is that I think that phrase is meant as a trigger to get you to do something, to make you take an action, not necessarily think about what it is that you have to do in order to do the thing that you want to do. So when I think people say fake it till you make it, it's a trigger to help you detach from the meaning of being confident. It's like, I have to be confident in order to do this thing. I have to be confident I have to know this skill, or I have to learn this thing to be able to start boxing, right? Like, you can start boxing. You can go into a ring and get your ass kicked. And if you're okay with that, like, and you want to continue, you'll learn. You'll definitely learn. Or you can take 150 classes and never feel ready. Right? So I think it's a trigger. It's meant as a trigger to help you get started.
So how does that look in terms of an attitude? Like someone who's faking it till they make it. How are they presenting themselves?
Well, I don't think you can keep that as a mindset.
Yeah.
If you're saying that, can you adopt that as a mindset? No, I don't think so. I think what they're really trying to say with that phrase is, don't attach meaning to your confidence, to your ego, to your identity of what you hold. It's like, go ahead, do it, try, learn from it, change, which is what you said earlier, right? And I think that's really what gets people stuck, is that most people believe that you have to know something in order to do it. And that's not true. You can just do it and learn.
Look at white people in corporate America.
Absolutely.
Because that's where I always think of it from. It's like, oh, like, I don't want to go for this job position because you have to know this, and that. And then you start working at places and you're like, oh my God, this higher up is so dumb. They faked it till they made it, until they made it, kind of thing.
It may not be that they faked it till they made it,
yeah.
but it's that maybe they have a skill that like just allowed them to move up the ladder.
An uncle,
relationships, whatever it can be. But the idea is that you don't attach meaning to your identity. It's like, you don't need to know all this shit. You don't need to have all these years of training. You can just start. Just fucking do it.
So what I hear is like you're basically saying the same thing that I was saying in terms of what the confidence comes from. It's just that what we're talking about is the definition of fake it till you make it.
yeah.
I think the phrase can be useful for some people, but I think if people take it literally, like, it can be harmful.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I was gonna go, because like everything that you explained to me to say that it's put into that phrase, fake it till you make it. I think that's a stretch. I think that for most people to be like, hey, you got to fake it till you make it. You get this job, fake it till you make it. For them to understand the whole idea of like, no, this doesn't mean that you're acting. This means that you're open for the journey, that you're going to learn the process and so on and so forth. I think that's a stretch from the actual phrase. It's like, no, it's more so like you're going to go in, you're going to do things, you're going to explore things, and you're going to learn along the way. So it's just like the learning aspect.
I think you just proved Jay's point that you're taking it literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
Somebody who
But I mean-
prides himself being adaptable, not very adaptable at this moment, my friend.
I was just thinking the same thing.
You are
like
not
you guys-
flowing like water.
I feel like you just put that in a box, because like I feel like other people can take that phrase and go far with it.
so you all right, so there's multiple things there. First, the way I'm taking it literally, right? What you guys are saying, that this is a phrase that as a collective whole, it's like, yeah, this is the phrase, but the meaning is this other thing.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like with any phrase, though.
I said that it was a cue.
Yeah.
Like,
But what I'm saying about that is that the established understanding as a whole, as a community as a whole, is going to be that, what you guys are describing.
Yeah, but I mean, you can use that for like anything. Like, for example, if I go, the joke I sent you on Instagram the other day, when guys like, when I say gay, I don't mean gay as this. I think gay is a straight relationship. That's gay kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's so like when you think of the word gay, you think of two people of the same gender in a relationship or having intimate relations. But it's not always used as that term kind of thing. So I understand, if you're taking fake it till you make it literally, I completely agree with you. I don't think it's helpful. I think it's not a good thing. But if you use the term fake it till you make it and you kind of view it the way that me and Mo were talking about, it could be helpful.
I think that fake it till you make it given to a person with like absolutely no confidence, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was where I was gonna circle back to, which is like the way that it's being. You guys may have this understanding of this is what it means. It doesn't really mean that. It means this, but where I was coming from is coaching people who are struggling because they're like, I know the whole fake it till you make it, but like I don't belong here. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, all this stuff. And it's
Maybe
like,
they don't.
yeah. But the whole thing is the idea that you need to already have known this. The idea that you are unable to learn, that you just either learned something in the past and now you have it, or you don't. To me, that's the problem with it. Because if you understand that you are learning, you're a learning person, no matter how old you are, right? Because that's the thing with mindset, that it was believed that our brains stopped growing, stopped making new connections after our teenage years. That's not true. Our brains continue to make new connections. They continue to learn. So if you understand that as a human being, you understand that you're in a situation that you may not have all the skills yet, you can understand that about yourself and then look for those things that you need to learn and learn them. And therefore, now you have the skills. Now you can adapt to the situation.
But again, I think, like, just to make clear, we're saying the same thing, right? Like, we're all saying the same thing. Okay. Where I think the difference is like, who is that message going to? Yes, I agree that message going to somebody who is not even at the starting line of personal development, that's a very dangerous message, because they have no like anchor to put that phrase on, right? There's no evidence, there's no confidence, no previous stories that says like, yeah, I am capable, right? Like David Goggins says, I have these cookies in the cookie jar, and he says that each cookie is a story in which you've can always go back to and pull out and say like, yo, I've done this shit before, right? Like that phrase, fake it till you make it, can anchor onto those cookies. But with somebody who has no cookies in their cookie jar, that's fucking hard, right? That's really hard. But I could say someone like Jay, right, going into the ring, and he's going to fight someone that he knows is maybe just a little bit better than him, right, skill-wise. Can that phrase give him enough belief to help him stay in the fight and possibly win? Yeah, I think it does. I just think it's who's the person and how do they perceive information. And it goes along with what you said. It's like, if they already understand the belief of, I'm capable of doing anything, I'm a learner, and I'm able to change, if they have that foundational belief already within their nervous system, then I think that phrase can cue them to be able to push further, to go past their potential.
I don't know. It just feels like an unnecessary middleman.
I mean, but it you know.
But I can say it about anything you guys tell me.
Exactly.
It's all fucking.
It's all
unneeded middleman.
It's all a perception. It's all based on how you perceive things.
Yeah, Mr. Adaptable.
So the idea behind it is like, if you already, like what you said, is you already have this kind of belief about yourself, which is that key concept. And I want to come back to that for like whole confidence thing. You have this belief about yourself, about being able to learn and so on and so forth. So you're using this phrase as a cue, as a trigger to remind you of this, of that you're adaptable. So basically, you're trying to draw confidence from the idea that you're adaptable, that you're learning, right? Like, why not just stay at the, like, hey,
because someone may not have that full confidence yet. So then it's like that cue gets you to go there, right? It's almost like when you're strength training, you're doing a heavy ass bench press, right? And the coach says, squeeze the shit out of the bar. Does that fucking, like, in your head, the cue is what actually made you tense up and fucking create more tension within the body. The cue, right? But you know that already. Like, you know that when you bench press, right? Like, you got to tense up, right? The more you tense up, the more likely you are to put the weight back up. So, but the cue is what actually helped the person do that. It's like, squeeze the shit out of the bar. What's squeezing the shit out of the bar going to do? In the moment that you're thinking about it, it just puts you in this mindset to fucking push harder. That's it. It's not like the person is going, but you said, hey, tense the bar, right? Like, squeeze the shit out the bar. And that's what created the tension. So I think fake it till you make it. It's like, yo, just get in there and fucking fight. Like, you're the best, right? You may not be the best. It's a lie.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a good lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You know?
well, that's kind of the part. You asked about the original conversation started from the question of like, what do you guys think about the fake it till you make it? And to me, it's like that lie is just an obstacle. It's actually an obstacle. It's a hindrance, as opposed to a curiosity towards figuring out, like, okay, where am I lacking? And and with that is like, where am I lacking? I think it's an empowering thing of like, yeah, I have a goal, I have a wish to get to winning this thing, but I have to look at where am I lacking, not just like with belief and so on and so forth. It's where am I lacking, so I can look at the avenue and make the corrections here, and that's going to get me to
No,
that
I'm not
wish.
saying you're wrong, but I'm literally just going by what segment 3 says, and it says to challenge the coach. And I
that's
did my
what I'm
job. I feel like you won't get over it.
doing. No, I'm doing that.
I'm just fucking with you.
I'm staying on this side
I'm
of the
just trying to
argument
lighten
for
the
the
mood.
purpose.
I know, but we're like,
No, I don't want to lighten the mood. I'm
we're
making
way longer than 5 minutes on it. Jesus Christ. I think we got the point.
the point of what
I knew Rances was trying to play devil's advocate because I was just like, there's no way that he just believes this one fucking thought. There's no way. I was like, this is not Rances. This is fake Rances. I'm like, this is bullshit. We're entertaining this fake version of himself. Because I was like, there's no way that he would say, like, in a moment that someone is boxing and they're in the middle of round fucking 8, that he's going to be like, you know what? You should think about where you're doing wrong.
Think about the avenues.
Think about all the different avenues and solutions that are being presented
You know
to
what you should have done?
What?
Should have brought up when I was going up the thing in the Spartan race, going up the rope.
Oh, when
You
you
remember?
kept trying and you weren't allowed to try more than once. It's like you failed, but you kept doing it anyway so that you can...
And you were like, oh my God, your ego's disgusting.
Yeah, he first of all, in the Spartan race, you get one try.
Yeah.
You get one try. So you have to climb up the rope and you have to touch the belt at the
Oh,
top
I
of the
know. I
rope.
remember doing it with you guys and just watching you just run off.
Oh, yeah.
Just fucking sprint up the hill. I was like, God damn, all right.
He gets to the rope and he's gone and he can't get up there, right? And
I
he
got a
just
cramp
keeps
in my-
trying.
I fell.
Yeah.
And then the part you did, I think you saw, was I just fucking went full animal. And I was like, I climbed all the way up and hit the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I did my burpees afterwards.
Yeah, he
that was
did
more
do
a personal thing about like, I'm not going to get defeated by a stupid cramp.
Mm-hmm. So then I was like, oh, man, your ego is huge, bro. It's nasty.
So, question for confidence. What does confidence and ego have to do with each other?
They're correlated. They're parallel. And I think what happens is ego is necessary. It exists. There's no getting rid of it. And it's neither good or bad. I think it's just necessary. And in order for your ego to feel confident, right, in certain environments, it needs evidence, right? That evidence is your stories, your experiences, right? Your wins, your losses, all of that creates your ego. Now, what happens is sometimes when you're not confident, right, when they're not parallel to each other, your ego will fight to either keep you in a state of inferiority, where like keep you in a state where you feel inferior, you won't put your ego out there to be shot down, or will put you in a place of superiority, right? So like you will try to be the biggest personality in the room and make sure that you dominate all the space or time or attention, so that way you can feel confident in that environment. Or vice versa, you'll be the shy person in the room and you'll stay quiet and in the corner so that your ego won't lose that confidence or that ability. So I think it's parallel and it's always in unison. Now, the only way that you change the ego or the new identity or the person that you want to be is by creating new stories, which will then give you more confidence in a new environment, which then creates the new ego.
Ditto.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Jay's like,
Said a lot. Yeah.
carried the two.
No, so I felt like, Mo, you were going into kind of the base concept on how we coach right? Because we talk about ego a lot, and ego, a lot of people have this negative view of it, but to me, ego is just a part of you. It has multiple aspects of you, and the way I like to see it is as a dog, that if you have a huge dog that you have out of control and it's pulling you all over the place, like you're not under control, that dog is going to do whatever it wants. So that's your egos. That's when your emotions are leading the charge. But when you have a well-trained dog you don't even have to hold the leash, it stays beside you. That's a well-trained ego, meaning that you're not looking to validate your ego. You're not looking for external reasons. You're not clawing at opportunities to make yourself feel important.
Is the dog the ego in this story?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just making sure.
So when your ego is well trained, you are able to, give it snacks whenever you want to, but you're also able to sit it down and be humble at any given time. And that idea, that kind of relationship, builds a confidence for yourself as a whole. Because when the ego is leading the charge and it doesn't get what it wants, your confidence gets shut down. You feel destroyed. So that's the opposite side of the spectrum, where you're not balanced. You're not really confident. False confidence.
What that made me actually think of is, and it's a question for both of you, is discipline necessary to build confidence?
As somebody who lacked discipline for, I'll say, 33 years of his life, no.
So you're saying you didn't have discipline, but you had confidence?
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah, kind of thing. Because I think it's not, because like I think I have a decent drive, but I think I always lacked discipline. Mm-hmm. So that's what got me through, and that was able to let me help build my confidence, kind of thing.
What is discipline for you? Like, what is the definition of that?
Discipline is not being able to do what I want to do at the drop of a dime, kind of thing. I think I look at it as with my relationship with Ash. It's like, discipline is, I don't go out like how I used to when we were younger and stuff like that, where I was always at like Trionas and stuff like that. I always needed to like be out at the bar to be drinking and stuff like that. And that discipline is like knowing that, you know what, it's better to be home. It's better to be with my lady. It's better to be with the dogs and stuff like that. And then discipline when it comes to the gym, where it's like, you gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta do this. And that's the only way that you're going to get better and stronger is if you keep this discipline and you stay on track, kind of thing. And I think that was the thing with me. I think I could have been a great skateboarder. I could have been a great, I could have did so much more with boxing if I started younger, if I had this discipline that I have now back then. But instead I was like, I want to do whatever I want. If I want to wake up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and go have 2 Big Macs and a 20-piece, I'm going to go do that. And then I'm going to stay skinny. And then it's like, oh, you get older. And it's like, no, you have to have some sort of discipline to maintain whatever lifestyle you have. And I learned that a little bit later in life than I liked.
So do you feel more confident now or when you were younger?
I feel more confident now just because I don't have that big, like, what if as, like, when I was younger kind of thing.
So you feel like you're more clear now?
Yeah, I'm more clear. I understand, like, what I like and what I want to do with the stuff that I do like, kind of thing, compared to just, like, being all over the page.
And that was created by?
Discipline.
But I have a question with the confidence that you talked about when you were younger.
Yeah.
Was that confidence easily like swayed? Like, for example, you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you said if you go in the room and you tell a joke and no one's laughing, like, does that hurt your confidence?
I think it went from like when I was young, I was like, maybe I'm not funny, and then like now that I'm like, they can't take a fucking joke, these fucking pussies. That's it. So then the ego comes in a little bit.
I mean, because the whole thing with like the question is like that. You asked the follow-up question, like, how do you define confidence? To me,
discipline.
Discipline. To me, that's all in perception, because like you had discipline. You went to school. You finished school. You had discipline in work. You had discipline.
That's not discipline, though. That was, my mom was like, motherfucker, you got to do this
that's
stuff.
still discipline. Yeah.
That's called fear. That's not discipline. That's
and then
fear.
on your own thing, like, you're telling jokes. Like, I know it feels like it just came, but you
Practice every
practice.
day.
Yeah, you discipline
The
behind
thing
that.
is,
It might have been like easy to do that practice, but it required consistency.
It required you understanding people and different types of humor.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'll say that.
So you had to break down people's
Yeah.
psychology in your head. Maybe you just did it naturally, right? And you never thought about like, oh, how do I actually do that?
Yeah.
But you did do it
Yeah,
for a
it's
really
true.
long time.
Yeah, because I think Ash would say something different because he's like, he just says the most random fucking things whenever it comes up in his head, and that's really my gauge. I'll just, if something pops up and I'll just say it, so she's like, what's wrong with you? Like,
But I also think it's the type of content that you've watched. Like, you're very specific in the content that you watch.
Yeah.
You're very specific in the shows that you watch.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a particular theme and a particular type of humor, and you put hours into that. That may be easy for you to do, but nonetheless, you did it. Like, tell Rances to sit here and watch TV for fucking 10 hours straight. Like, it's hard for him to do that. It's like, I gotta listen to a book at 10,000x. You know?
oh, quick question: why do you listen to it sped up?
So going back to the dyslexia thing,
Always back to the dyslexia thing.
you're literally talking about reading books.
You're not
How
reading,
is that
you're
not going to be
listening.
tied?
You're listening.
Yes,
I'm just
the
asking, why do you
subject
listen
matter
to
is
it
reading
fast?
books.
I'm just asking,
How
why
is
do
it
you-
not going to be tied to dyslexia? Just think about that for a moment. So
I think you use it as a crutch. That's all I'm saying.
I think you just
Fake it
use
till you
that
make it,
phrase anytime you're confused.
Yeah, I just like
So-
getting riled up.
So when I was younger, like reading, the whole idea of reading, like it was, think of this, like, you know, when you would go in the classroom and the teacher's like, you're going to read this paragraph, then the next person's going to read the next paragraph, and so on and so forth. So like that, when it was coming to me, I'll be like cold sweating, terrified, like rereading the paragraph over and over so I don't mess up in front of the whole class, right? So there's this whole thing behind reading, this whole anxiety. And there was one week when my teacher was out, right? And I grabbed this book in classroom. I was like bored, and I grabbed this book and I started reading. I read like 4 pages of it, and I was intrigued by this book. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know books can be interesting, right? So this was kind of like my first introduction to books in terms of that, but still the reading process was hard. So I was never able to actually finish a book. And then I discovered audiobooks, right? The app on the phone, and I read my first book. Like, listen to my first book from start to finish. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember everything that happened in this book. So then it became like a really love interest of like, I'm able to absorb this information in ways that felt like I couldn't reach in the past through books. Now I found I found a way to absorb this information. And that was super empowering for me. And then the whole idea of listening to it faster came because I was inspired by this segment in a news story or something. Asian guy who's a lawyer, and he's blind. And it was like, how do you do it? And he was like, well, one of the ways is like reading Braille. But another thing is I listen to all the documents really fast. And he played it for the news. And it was like, and he was like, yeah, you could just train your mind to do this over years and so on and so forth. And I was like, oh, got it. So I'm going to train myself to do that. And I started slowly increasing. And over 10 years, now I can listen to like at 4x speed.
I wish I could have 4x speed that story.
You know what, though?
Could have just started at, I saw on the news this Asian guy that's blind. Listen to his story.
Why do you
sped
ask
up.
questions if you're not interested in
Because
the
I didn't
answers?
expect a fucking whole backstory. It's like talking to my wife. Jesus Christ.
So, it actually does work, though, because I do listen to
Oh,
it.
I'm not saying it doesn't work. I believe it does. I just want them to like where you heard that, like where was like the process.
Oh, where
of,
was the process?
Yeah,
of it?
I didn't need the fucking starting from year
I'll tell you the
one.
reason why. I need to understand the motive behind something. If you tell me I did this because I saw this, I don't understand the motive. There's no interest to me in that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you questions till I understand the motive. So when I speak, I explain with the motive first.
Okay, well, let's think about me for a second. So when I ask you questions, don't explain it like how you like it. Explain it how I like it, because I'm the one asking you. You selfish bastard. I think this is the greatest podcast we've done so far.
And you guys didn't want structure.
All right.
Well, no, you should create the structure so we can do everything to go against
Well,
it.
that's the way I see it. Like the structure is not to stay rigid in it.
Yeah.
It's to give some sort of like edges.
Yeah. All right. So now let's go to some fun takeaways from this whole podcast.
Wait, but no one answered my question.
What was
Discipline.
your question? I had told you what I thought.
So,
discipline was.
we came full circle, and discipline
Yeah,
was a root.
you're right. That's most of the questions you ask me. It usually just goes back to you like it's told you, and I yeah, you're right. That's how it goes.
What was the question again?
Is discipline necessary for confidence? You never answered.
Yeah, so that's why I held back because I felt like it was inspired by what I said.
I'm putting a timer on. It's on camera. This is not a fucking conductive work environment. All right, you're my employer. You're not allowed to touch me like that.
Because you mentioned about like how inspired by what I was saying.
3 minutes.
And to me, it's false confidence is possible without discipline. What do you?
Jay, he's wasting your 3 minutes.
False confidence.
Wait, I'm listening.
False confidence is possible without discipline. It's like, to me, it kind of goes into that like, oh, I'm just going to tell this story. As long as it's not questioned, I'm good. But like confidence that can be like really shaken easily, I think comes from discipline, comes from the hours of dedicating yourself to something that you feel strong about.
That was really good.
Holy shit.
It's pretty good, even with all
You
the
should-
I'm so proud of you.
You should put a timer every time he talks.
Every time he talks,
it's
right?
fire.
That was beautiful. I'm so proud of you. I take back all the mean things I said this podcast about you.
It kind of makes sense. You have to give him boundaries. You have to give him boundaries. Like in a public speaking presentation, the dude is fire. The dude is fire when you give him boundaries. It's like, oh, Rances, you know what? You only have 3 minutes to talk left after you wasted 40. The last 3 minutes of that presentation was fucking fire. It just like clicked. It was like, oh, turn on. Yeah. You just gotta give him a timer every time he talks.
I found your love language. All right. Fun takeaways.
I mean, I have my own personal opinion about confidence. I think it's bullshit.
You think it's bullshit?
Yeah.
Why?
I think that when you attach meaning to the idea of confidence, like it's something that you're gonna have in some areas, and even in those areas when you're getting challenged by somebody who's better than you or more superior or has more knowledge, you're gonna feel not confident. What matters is that you take an action. So in order to feel good about something in yourself, I think you just have to do something. You have to, and that requires discipline. That requires a bunch of hours. That requires failing. And that's what's going to allow you to feel more comfortable in certain environments.
That's fair. No, I respect that. My takeaway is don't go to Rances if you want a short story, and don't go to Mo for a pep talk, because Jesus Christ. Fucking, I thought I was a pessimist here.
That's your takeaway.
No, that's not really my takeaway. You know, after hearing you talk about confidence like that, I do think that, yeah, it could be a little bit of bullshit, but I think like with most things, even though it's a little bit of bullshit, you still kind of need it. And if it helps you, it helps you. And if you don't need it, then you don't need it. You know, it's on an individual basis. For me, I like having a little bit of confidence, but I don't need it. I don't think you should put all your eggs in the confidence basket the same way you shouldn't put all your eggs in any one thing. But for me, it helps. It helps to have that confidence.
So for me is, I thought you were going to grab the phone. For me, it's confidence is like defining confidence. It's security. It's like you feel secure in this thing. So when you look at it that way, it's if your security can be taken away, like you mentioned, your security of like you're facing a guy that's going to make you feel unsafe, insecure, and you have no confidence in this environment, but then you go into someone who's your height. Now, hey, I am fully confident. I'm fully secure that I can handle this. That's basically what confidence is. So with that being said, the thing that you can be most secure in is in yourself, is in your ability to adapt and learn. And that, to me, is the key to maintaining that security within yourself, is by looking at yourself as a learner.
Dude, we got to start timing you way more often. You're hitting the same 216 mark every single time. This is impressive.
Yeah.
I like this. That was actually good, though. I like what you said.
Yeah.
I was more fixated on the time, but I heard you, and I appreciate you.
Man.
And this is what it was like training me, guys.
Where are we at now? Just wrap up?
Yeah, we just wrap this up.
All right.
Guys, I hope you had fun. I had fun today. I like when Rances makes us have some sort of structure. We just try to just derail it at every turn. It really makes me happy. Like man, can we do like another? Can we just do this every week now? Because like now this is fun now. But also, we never even said what episode this was. I don't even know what episode it is anymore.
I thought about it. I don't remember because
I think it's 70.
Yeah, because we switched some things around, so it's like 70. Yeah, it's like 74,
74.
I think, something like that. But please don't forget to like, subscribe, and find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, and VidaProject.com.
Nice.
Yeah, look at
Mindset U podcast, Rances, Jason, and Moses. Oh, last thing, guys. What are we grateful for?
I'm grateful that I, had a good time down the shore with my lady.
Yeah.
It was relaxing.
How long were you guys there for?
3 days.
Nice.
Yeah. Got a little vitamin D.
Yeah.
It's good.
Oh, different vitamin D.
That's why I looked at you. I was like, is Joe going to eat Jay? I keep calling Joe.
I was waiting for Jay to
Yeah.
I was like, you finally let her peg you? Talk about building character and building some confidence.
What are you grateful for, Jay?
I'm grateful for you guys. Today was fun. I kind of, coming into today, I was like, I don't want to talk. And then when I got here, I was like, oh, man, I do want to talk. I take it all back. This is fun. I had a good time today.
I'm grateful for my beautiful son, who's about to turn 10 on Monday. 11, sorry. Time's flying. And for the little man that he's becoming.
Oh, that's special. That was so fake. It's aw.
That was real genuine for me.
Was it? Aw. Aw.
The most emotional. All right.
All right, guys.
Peace.